Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural session of the Attorney Computer Systems Worldox Virtual User Group meeting. You can see from my calendar that it's 1 o'clock and it's Monday the 8th of April, 1 week away from tax time. So everybody gets to take a break from preparing their taxes and learn just a little bit more about Worldox. A little bit of preamble here, since this is the first time. I am Paul Perdue. I am having the honor of being in the same room as Mary Jo Boyd, who is my cohort in crime, and just one room away, ready to announce any question that you may have or to interrupt us for any reason, is Leanne Cottrell, our humble moderator. We are going to talk today about categories, and that's the topic we picked for our first Worldox Virtual User Group meeting. But before we get into that, I'm going to show you a little bit here for those of you who are new to this format. Some of the people that are attending today have been to our other Virtual User Group meetings for Tabs 3 and Practice Master. But for those who have not, this is the GoToWebinar control panel that you probably either are looking at right now on your screen or had been looking at before you got rid of it. Now, this part right here will go away if you click this button here that looks like an arrow pointing to the right. Clicking that button will force this to slide out of the way. The only thing you'll be able to see are these little buttons here. Once you do that, this button will turn into an arrow pointing to the left, which will then cause it to slide back into focus if you need to type a question. That's for the shy people. Anybody who doesn't want to actually ask their question live can type a question here at any time, and when appropriate or when it's convenient or when it works, Leanne will interrupt us and ask your question on your behalf. If you have follow-up questions as we're explaining the answer, just keep typing them until we're done. And this button here that looks like a hand with an arrow pointing upward in front of it means raise your hand. It's kind of like typing a question, only you're raising your hand, and when Leanne feels it's appropriate, she will interrupt us, and then she'll unmute you to let you ask your question. So if you're feeling bold, raise your hand. If you're feeling shy, type your question there. But the bottom line is, do not let your questions go unanswered. Now, many of you know that you can reach me by sending an email to paul.perdue, like the school, not the chicken, at attorneycomputersystems.com. So that is your third way of being able to ask a question. If you have a question that you're just so shy you're not even going to ask it while we're live, or more appropriately, you probably forget about it until 10 minutes after we hang up or 10 minutes after the session ends, just email it to us. If it has to do with the topic, we'll answer it for you and send an answer back. A little bit of news first for those of you who may have attorneys that have need for this. Let me get here. Worldox announced last Friday, I believe, at Tech Show, the ABA Tech Show in Chicago, that they have come up with a Macintosh client. What that means is that you can now get to Worldox and save things from the Mac version of Office, Word and Outlook, for instance, into Worldox from a Macintosh. We do have clients currently running Worldox that have Macintoshes on the network. We have one client down in Dayton that has all Macintoshes on the network. But in order for Worldox to run, we have to jump through at least 18 hoops, and we have to have something called parallels running so that they're actually running Windows on a Macintosh machine. If any of you know Macintosh people, you know that that's probably the last thing they want to do is run Windows on a Macintosh machine. So with this announcement, we are anxiously awaiting the actual release of the Macintosh client for Worldox. Now, it won't be out until later this summer. There is no definite date for release yet. They tell me, at least according to this was a surprise to me. I think it was a surprise to everyone, that it is actually available now to look at and play with. So we'll have more information on that next month as it develops. That brings me to another thing I want to mention before we actually get into our topic at hand. We have decided to have a Worldox Virtual User Group meeting every month, and we have decided to have it on the second Monday of the month. So it will always be the second Monday of the month at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it will always last approximately a half hour long. So you can pretty much mark your calendars. Again, for those of you who don't know, if you go to attorneycomputersystems.com and get to the place where you can see my tie and my shirt, then you're also at the place where you can see not only the Tabs 3 Practice Master Virtual Group meeting page, but now also the Worldox Virtual User Group meeting page. Now I'll take you here simply because I'll show you that this is where you can always go to see what the next month's topic is. But I'll take you here to show you that once we get this first one under our belt, you can always come to the Worldox Virtual User Group meeting page to see recorded versions of the past episodes. Now this, of course, is our Tabs 3 Practice Master Virtual User Group page, and so it's loaded with about 3 years worth of previous content. But sometime tomorrow, probably, if you click on this link on our webpage, you will also see today's session showing up under here with the registration information for next month's session. And without any further ado then, we're going to get into categories. Now a little bit of background. I'm going to actually pull up through direct access the client profile group for Purdue Law Offices. Many people think this is our fake demo client. It's actually my brother Dave. So try not to look at anything confidential in here because we don't have anything. We're going to take a look at categories. Now, a little bit of background. Those of you who have had Worldox for a while, and especially those who used to use libraries, categories replace libraries. Now, there's a couple things that we'll get into that you can do with categories that you could not do with libraries. But for all intents and purposes, they do serve the same purpose. Been greatly enhanced, and it's my understanding that there will be more enhancement coming to the category feature as time progresses. So, first thing you'll want to do if you're going to use categories and you don't already have it is you're going to want to add a column to your column layout, and I'm going to add the categories column. Now I right-clicked here, chose Insert Column, and I inserted categories, selected it from the list, and now we have categories here. But what you'll notice is that they push stuff over, and now my columns are a little funky, so I can then right-click and choose Best Fit All Columns, and it will bring my columns back down to where they all fit within this one screen here. Okay? So to summarize, you right-click, choose Insert Column, you insert your categories column, and then you right-click again anywhere within this column header and choose Best Fit All Columns, and it will make them all fit nicely and look nice. Now what you'll see here is that we now have a categories column, and we can sort by categories. I'm going to also show you that we have this categories button up here. This is how we create a new category, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a couple categories. Now I've got email, incoming, outgoing, master documents, GX3 update. You'll notice that's a folder specific. I'll talk about that in a second, and expense reports. Now, to be perfectly frank, expense reports is the only one that we use right now at Attorney Computer Systems. The others are ones that we added for the sake of this demonstration. So I'm going to add a couple. Now, when I hit the Add button, the plus, as you're used to in Worldox, I can add 3 kinds of categories. Now, of course, this has to do with what rights you have as a user. So if you're locked in a kind of a locked down situation and you're just plain old user, it's very likely that all you're going to see is the ability to add a personal category. But there are 2 other types, and I'll explain them even though you may not be able to add them, just so you can understand the concept. First off, there's personal. Anybody can add a personal category. They are specific to you, the user, and they would apply anywhere that you would be able to look at a document, but most often it's in your personal folders. If your daughter got a speeding ticket, and so you've got a scan of the ticket, and you've got the letter that you wrote to the judge, and you've got the correspondence you've had with the insurance company after they found out about it, and you want to categorize that, you want to put it into a category, you would add a personal category. We're actually going to pick on my son Spencer because he's starting his Segment 2 driving classes tonight. So we'll say SCP speeding ticket. And I now have a personal category, and you can tell it's personal because it's got the little, this is supposed to be a person. No comments. It's supposed to be a person. We'll just go with it. I am the only one who will see that category, so I can take all the documents, and they may actually fall in different areas within Worldocs, but I can take them all, assign them to that category, and then later be able to sort by or pull up documents by that categorization. Now, I can also add a folder specific. Now, keep in mind, we are currently in Purdue Law Office's folder. So this folder specific category is going to be specific to Purdue Law Offices. So one that I have already out here is called the GX3 update. And if we just bump out of here for a second and go to categories and sort and look at the GX3 update, you'll see that these two emails have to do with the Worldox GX3 update at Purdue Law Offices. Okay? So what that means is only the Purdue Law Offices group or folder, if you will, is allowed to have this category. Now, in estate planning, we see this all the time. 2012 trust for Bob, 2012 trust for Suzanne, 2013 trust for Bob, 2013 trust for Suzanne. Obviously, those are categories that would apply only to a certain matter, to a certain client, and therefore they're categories that you would only care about on that level. In this example, we've got the GX3 update. I could add another one. Perhaps Purdue Law has some work that we're doing on a trademark area of practice and Practice Master. So if I go to categories up here and hit plus and add a folder specific for the folder that I'm currently in, I'll call it Trademark AOP. Okay? So that is how you add categories. I can also add at this level public. Public are firm-wide, and they will apply anywhere. So some common examples of public are email, letters, incoming, outgoing, pleadings, correspondence. These are things that you may want to have available in every matter for every type of profile group that you might have. And so therefore they should be created at this level. Now keep in mind, you may or may not be able as a user to see these two. You can always see this one. Now this button up here that I keep pressing, Mary Jo is going to show you some other ways to assign categories and to work with categories and to even, I think there's a quicker way to create categories. But this button that appears up here, you may not have. And probably don't if you're new to categories. So what you'll want to do in GX3, of course, where categories live, you can also modify the button bar. And by the way, that's going to be a topic that we're going to delve very deeply into in either the next or the second, the one after Worldox Virtual User Group meeting. But we'll just very quickly touch on it. We're going to right-click, choose a pen button, click on Edit, and we're going to add the Categories button. That's how I got that button there. Right-click in the gray space right here, append button, edit, categories, and that will take this button you see here and put it on your button bar. And that's how you get to the place where you can add a category, one of the three types that we just talked about. And now Mary Jo is going to show you a little bit about how to use those.
From the button that Paul just showed you, you can assign documents to categories, but there's an easier way to do that, because rather than have to select them all and then go up here and click on my button and then add the categories that I want to those specific documents or that one document, you can actually just right-click right here in the column. So if this is an email, I can see there's an email with an attachment, all these. So if I wanted to give this an email designation, if I just click on the category, right-click on the category column, I can select my category, and right there I can choose whether I want it to be personal, public, or a folder category. And it actually gives me the list of all of my options right here. So if I already have these categories created and I just want to assign them to documents, I can just do that very quickly by selecting the category, and it will give me everything that's available on whatever level I want. If I needed to add or edit, I can also click on that, and that just opens that same window that Paul had from the button bar up here. So there's a couple of different things there that I can do just by right-clicking on the categories column, selecting, and maybe I just want to make this an email. And I've added that. Now, one thing Paul didn't tell you that is good with the categories is you have the ability to assign more than one category to a file. So if this was an email and it was also an outgoing email, I could actually select that outgoing as well. So I can then sort by my outgoing email. A little bit further than what we used to be able to do as libraries. So you can do multiple categories per document and apply those. So again, I was just right-clicking on that categories column, and I was choosing what I wanted from that place. Now, to sort these, you saw that Paul had, I think, originally clicked on the categories column, and that will break these down into the sections of categories that we have. So I see that I have all my emails here, I have all my updates here, and then I have my outgoing. And this outgoing is also an email, so it's going to show up twice on my list because it falls into both of those categories. So if you have ones that are in multiple, just understand that document is going to show up on this list in every single category that you've assigned it to, and it's broken down this way. Now, some people like this way that it breaks down. It is a little different than how the libraries used to do it. You used to have a group of email, and you could sort by those things. It groups them now, but there is a way to actually see these documents and filter them a little bit differently. Because if you just wanted to see all of the unassigned or all of the GX3 and you don't want to have to scroll down the page to see it, we have what we call tags. And this is on all of the screens, but in this instance, I just want to see the tags for my categories. So this little filter button down here, and if you hover over it, it does say tags, opens up another window. And if you can filter on anything, so this is useful not only for categories, but for any documents if you wanted to sort a list. But in our instance with categories, I can see that I have email, I have GX3 update, and I have outgoing. Something about tags, you can see some of these fonts are a little larger than others. That means that there are more documents in the email than there are in instructions, miscellaneous notes, and so on. There are more documents that have been saved by Leanne than there are from Paul. And if you hover over it, you can also see that I can tell how many documents I have. So I can see I have 7 emails. I only have 1 instruction. I only have 1 miscellaneous, and so on. And depending on that script, the size of that font kind of gives you that quick view that, oh, I've got a lot of proposals, or I have a lot more emails, or whatever. Now, to sort in here, if I just wanted to see just the emails, if I click on that, it's going to edit my list up here at the top to just show me just those emails. I can also further choose more things, so maybe I just want to see all the outgoing emails, and then again, it's going to show me just those things. So you can sort this, and maybe I just want to see the ones that were saved by Paul, or I want to see the ones saved by Leanne, or I want to see just the PDFs. These are all things that you can use in conjunction with each other to sort your list up here and see what they are. So tags are very useful in sorting and finding things quickly on an existing list that you have up above. I think is that all that I needed to talk about? Wow, that was fast.
My time went fast, too.
Yeah.
I'm not used to being able to explain things so well. Maybe this software is more intuitive than we would guess.
Well, one thing I can add on the columns, to make these stick, Paul added that categories. And, if I get out of here and I come back in, that categories column is going to go away. So if you hit this little save button here on my toolbar, it says Style Save. That will save that on the different screens. And I'll just click that. It gives you some options of what you want to save. So I can click this and add that category column to everyone. And then I can decide if I want it just for me or for everyone and save it. And then that will stick there. That's one extra little thing there for categories.
Yeah, and we're going to delve more deeply into that saving and setup of those column layouts in a future meeting.
And you can also move it over. You don't have to have it first. It could be down at the other side. So,
Leanne, do we have any questions?
We do not have any questions, Paul.
Okay, not even my brother Bill to ask if Baron Henley is going to be speaking today? Okay, well, that then is the end of the first Worldox Virtual User Group meeting. We chose to have this one with just one topic because we weren't sure how long it was going to last, and we weren't sure how much explaining we'd be doing up front of how everything works. So we're done a little bit ahead of time. Remember, these will be the second Monday of every month at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You should be getting an email the Thursday before to announce the topics. You can always go to attorneycomputersystems.com and click on the Worldox Virtual User Group Meetings link to see what the next topic is. We will have that up the very minute that we have the recorded version up from today. So tomorrow sometime probably we'll have that recorded version up, and we'll have the topics for the next one. Now, do we remember what the topics were, Mary Jo? We'll take that as a no. I know that one topic that we've got on slate for either next time or the time after is how to work with columns, how to save them, how to reorganize them, how to choose what the default sort is, things like that. I know that another one that we've got set to discuss is tags in greater detail. So be sure to join us, and have a good rest of the day. We'll see you next month. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.